It's obvious that you listen to this show to hear about and support other people's dreams. But what about yours? What is your dream project? I'm here to help you break through whatever is in the way of your dreams and get you to the finish line. Go to dreamingbigcoaching.com today and take the first step. Literally, it's a button you can click to sign up for a free consultation with me. Let's find out if I can help you reach your goal. Click on Take the First Step. It's that simple to start the rest of your life. Get coached by Rob Southgate at dreamingbigcoaching.com. Look, we're all nerds here. Todd Stashwick's Nerd Circus is a great place to pick up nerdy paraphernalia and groovy wares. How about some sweet lava lamp dice? Or maybe a funky 70s Rec Room Nerd Circus dice box? Does that do anything for you? Need a drink? What about the book Mystic Libations? Critical cocktails for the thirsty adventurer. Look, Todd Stashwick's Nerd Circus is the place for nerdy threads, cool tabletop gifts, and more. Go to thenerdcircus.com and check out the cool stuff. Oh yeah, and let them know the TTRPG Insider sent you. Welcome back again to TTRPG Insider. I am your host, Rob Southgate. TTRPG Insider is a podcast about tabletop role-playing games and the people who create them. Every episode, I interview someone who's involved in the making of these games that we all love to play. I want to hear the stories of their lives, what inspires them, what they have fun with, how they got into TTRPG, not just a description of the game. You can follow TTRPG Insider on Facebook by searching for TTRPG Insider. I also have a Twitter handle at TTRPG Insider. Shocking, right? I plan to add other social media, but for now, that's the best place. If you want to email me, you can send me an email directly to rob@ttrpginsider.com. This month, we're featuring Cthulhu Dreamt by Action Fiction. They have a Kickstarter campaign running currently through September 8th, 2023. Please support Cthulhu Dreamt, both financially and by sharing it across your social media. You never know who's going to fall in love with this game. So go to Kickstarter and search for Cthulhu Dreamt, or simply click on the link in our show notes today. Today's guest is Brad Roberts. He's a writer and editor on Cthulhu Dreamt by Action Fiction. Here's Brad. Brad, welcome to the show. This is really fun to have you on. We've already been talking.
Yes.
Spoiler, I didn't hit record, so we don't have any extra footage, people. Sorry. But I think you're going to really enjoy this interview. Our game this month that we are highlighting is Cthulhu Dreamt, if you haven't picked up on that yet. And links to their Kickstarter in the show notes. You want to get in there. The stretch goals are amazing. So I know we're not going to sit and focus only on that Kickstarter, but anybody listening, you definitely want to check this amazing game out, this amazing Kickstarter. I'll put the link in the show notes. All right, Brad, enough business. Let's get down to business. Tell people about yourself. Who are you?
I am Brad. Sometimes I go by Cookie. I born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. I spend a lot of my time either at my day job where I work for a nonprofit working with kids, or at my night job where I design TTRPGs and board games and all that fun stuff. Yeah, that's about me.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
Columbus, Ohio. Are you from there?
Born and raised.
Born and raised.
Yeah, actually not too far away from where most of the so I was born in Columbus, Ohio, and born and raised there. Still am there, but I got a chance to go to Muskingum College, which is where John Glenn went to college.
Oh,
and
cool.
Then he unfortunately passed a little bit ago. And then as I moved back, they renamed the airport after John Glenn, so it's now the John Glenn Airport. Which I'm not gonna lie, it always feels weird to me when they name something after a famous person, but not till after they've died. It's like it's
Right. They
something
have no
about
idea how honored they are, right?
yeah, right. And also like they did the thing like 40 years ago. Like he didn't stop being from Ohio in those 40 years, right? Or
Are you
50.
sure?
How long ago is it?
Are you sure he didn't like reject Ohio and then on the deathbed came back and said, "Okay, I'm back in."
Listen, if you're going to name the airport after me, I'm happy to recount all the awful things I've said about the corn state.
Right.
One of the many corn states.
All my jokes just didn't happen. Just Men in Black it. Boomf. No jokes about Ohio. Name something after me. So how long before is this a ploy for a Brad Roberts like airport or something? You were saying like do it before I die?
Listen, I'm saying if they want to name an airport after me, I would like to know about it. And like it would be nice to not have to know about it from the grave. I'm not saying it has to be, you know, I would never want to put anybody out of their way. It would be very like impolite of me, very non-Midwestern. But if you're going to name an airport after me, do it while I'm alive, please. Please.
Okay.
That would
just put that out in the universe.
Yeah. You know what? Whatever's going to happen. And you know what? I'll make sure that if we ever get one named after you, that I'll try and push that along.
I'm gonna highly doubt there's gonna be an airport named after me. Other things maybe. Airport.
Yeah.
I don't see that one.
What do you think is going to be named after you?
When I put on my Geekstradamus hat and I look into the future, I don't see an airport named after it. But there's plenty of stuff named Southgate out there. Shopping centers. Oh, I'll tell you the best one. My dad is from Bloomington, Illinois, which is directly next to Normal, Illinois. This is where Illinois State University is. So my standing joke is it's the closest my dad ever was to normal. And I took my wife there one time. I'm like, hey, I'm going to show you where my dad's old house was and, you know, whatever. And it's this little town out in, you know, out in the sticks compared to Chicago. And as we were driving, we come up on the sign. It says Southgate. She goes, oh, does your family have something here? I'm like, no. Other than debt, they probably have nothing here.
Oh, no.
And you know what it was? It was the crappiest trailer park I've ever seen in my life. It was run down. It was like, it would have been more attractive to live in if it was on fire. And we're just like, oh my God. And it was called Southgate Estates. We're like, officially, this is my family, we're telling people. So maybe that's what I go for. Was it
specifically named after your dad, or did it just happen to be?
No, it had nothing to do with my family.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing to do with my family, which was what was so awesome about it.
Yeah.
But there is a Southgate Castle in England, and that is my family. In fact, I'm gonna tell you something I don't think I've revealed on here yet. Oh, wow. I am actually George Robert Southgate VII. I'm a direct lineage to the people that lived in the castle, which I can never go to because supposedly if I go there, they're going to want all their tax money and I will be in jail. It'll be the Man in the Iron Mask all over again, although that wasn't England, but what the heck? Let's mash up. We'll do a mashup.
All of Europe is the same.
It's all the same. I didn't say that, Europe. But all of Ohio is, other than Cleveland. You know, Cleveland's a little something different. So we've actually spent a lot of time in Ohio. Cool. We have a lot of relatives. My wife, her family is from Cleveland. And actually now we spend more time going to Middle Bass Island, which is those islands. You can literally drive to the edge of it and you're in Canada. It's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
So
I've heard of those. Those are supposed to be really cool.
So, yeah. And then we have relatives down in, I think, they're in Cincinnati. They might be Columbus. I don't know. It's all the same. Like you said, it's all the same.
Man, they're all big C named towns. It's all the same thing.
That's why John Glenn denounced the whole thing until his deathbed.
Yeah.
So your background, you said you went to college was it for writing? What was it for?
I ended up getting an English degree, which is basically a literature degree, and then minors in communication and philosophy. I really did not want to have a job coming out of college, as you can tell by the majors list. Thank you. Yeah. It's really important to me that I be unemployed for a while.
You did it. Woo!
Yeah. Success. But no, I went mostly for writing.
Okay, was that the goal? You wanted to be a writer?
Uh, yeah, I went into college sort of without a goal. I was one of those kids that got sold on like just go to college, it's because it's what you got to do. I didn't really have a goal, but I've wanted to be a writer since I could read, which was a little bit later than most people. But yes, the plan was always to try and be a writer. And I think the English tried to help me with that. The college I went to has a really good education program, so I think that my parents were sort of hoping that, like, he'll realize that education is what he wants to do, and he'll go into that instead. And I did not.
No, not your thing, huh?
No, I mean, I ended up in that field anyway because that's sort of that just happened to be the direction that my life took. But it really felt like I owed it to books, which is a weird thing to say, right? Because books aren't living as much as writers and artists and creators and designers like to sort of, they feel like they are, but they don't have thoughts necessarily. So you can't owe them things, but also like, yeah, it sort of felt like I owed it to books to try and to really study them and get to know them. And writing has always been the goal. Which I think was your original question. I got off topic.
It was. That's okay. This whole show is off topic. So writing, what was it you wanted to do? Were you a poet, short stories? Were you looking to be a science fiction writer or romance? What was it? What was your thing that you were kind of like, when you look in your magic mirror at what my bookshelf looks like with all my books on it, what was it you wanted it to look like?
I think there's a universe out there where I do a little bit of everything. Sorry, there's like a universe out there where I do some science fiction. There's a universe out there where I write a little bit of fantasy. But in this particular one, it was poetry and short stories. And part of that is that I have really bad ADHD and have no ability to concentrate on anything for an extended period of time. Which makes it difficult to write like 300-page novels.
Yeah.
But less difficult to write like, I don't know, 10-page short stories about things. And it makes it really, it gets really like, it makes the poetry feel urgent a little bit. And so, I don't know, I enjoy that.
Very interesting. Yeah, my daughter went to Interlochen this last year and won a Fine Arts Award for poetry. Yeah, she's quite gifted. So I get that. And she actually now has really transitioned it into songwriting. She writes really interesting lyrics. And she's like, this is how it's coming out of me. I'm like, great. That's awesome. So yeah, I get that. So you went to TTRPG and started writing there. Were you just like always a dice rolling kid, or is it like I fell into it and this is where we ended up?
So I actually grew up in a household of entirely jocks. So the way it's phrased on the our Meet the Team aspect is I grew up without any comics, anime, or D&D to warm me against the cold wind of this world.
Oh boy.
A little bit dramatic.
Yeah, but you had the Bengals, so
yeah, that's really, we have the world's most average football team, and that was really a thing. But in college, one of the very first things I did was join a game club, like a board gaming club, and naturally everybody in that board gaming club was also in the like TTRPG club, and the first one was free, and now I'm hooked.
Yeah,
and
I know how it goes.
Yeah,
how it goes.
I think everyone knows a little bit of the that little spark of magic when you play your first TTRPG and you're like, I can do the thing.
Yep.
And the problem with that club, the problem they kept running into is that not enough people wanted to DM. They had lots of players, but the sort of a problem with the world is that there's not really enough like facilitators or DMs or narrators or game
Right.
runners out there. And so as a freshman, I was like, I sort of have a little bit of a writing thing. I'll give it a shot. And the first time I tried, they shut me down.
Oh,
They were like, "No,
you're
Brad,
terrible. Cut it
out." Absolutely not. And so I came back. We did it in 3-week cycles. So it was like one story for 3 weeks, and then we'd repick groups, and then another story for 3 weeks. And it was just easy to keep up with like the regular breaks and stuff that way. I came back the next week, and I'd like super over prepared for the session, right? I'd like the first time I was like, yeah, I can do this. How hard can it be? And then they were like, you should maybe not do this again.
Okay. Fell on your face.
Yeah. And failure is important. You gotta lose the first game of any season, I think. Maybe that's just me speaking as an Ohio sports fan.
You just got to lose the first 78 seasons. No, actually, it's true. I talk about it all the time. My wife said last night, because some of my business stuff is taking off like crazy. Like it feels like overnight. She's like, "You're the slowest overnight sensation ever." This has been my whole life working to this. I'm 54, and all of a sudden now people are catching on. It's like, that's how it is, man. But to the outside world, you were there already. So yeah, failure is what builds that foundation. You have to fail to figure out what to do right and what to avoid. So I'm doubting you were a rousing success on your next one, but you got the bug and you knew what you had to do then, right? Yeah.
It was it was definitely better than the first. But I don't know that it was that much better. That I don't know that it was like objectively super better on the scale. But I super over prepared, and I actually got real sad because that was my first instance of the players not going in a place that I'd prepped.
Oh.
Like I don't even remember what it was, but I'd had this thing prepared, and I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be a super cool boss fight, and there'll be like these like elevator type situations. It'll be super dynamic, and then they just bypassed it entirely, and I remember being like, oh, okay.
It happens.
Which is, it happens, and it's important, and I sort of became a regular DM there after that, and I figured that out. And that's really, I think, the story of my life is we figured it out. We don't know what was going on, but we got.
I love it, Brad. I love it. And okay, so then you're GMing, you're playing, you're discovering you can write. When does it flip over and you start writing TTRPGs? Like, I know you have to write stuff for your GMing, but when did you go, somebody might want to buy this?
So I'd always you got to write stuff for GMing, and you got to, one of the things I've always loved is home brewing. And I started writing, really what happened is I met Jared and CJ, and I sort of became this, trying to avoid the word threesome. Trio.
You know what? It's a danger zone no matter what you say. But you became a group.
Yeah. We sort of became a group, and
this is a safe zone. We're gonna call it a threesome, and everybody knows not to make it weird.
Yeah. Please. The last thing I would want is for someone to make my life about writing pretend games for adults weird.
Yeah.
That would be awful.
Right.
But we met up and we started hanging out. CJ actually ran our first game, and Jaron and I put him through the ringer, and now he doesn't run games for us anymore. But Jaron has this, and you've interviewed him 3 times, so you are probably aware of his sort of. He has a very ambitious energy.
Yes.
He gets an idea in his head and then he just goes for it. And he had a dream where he woke up in the middle of the night, wrote something down, and then went back to sleep. And he woke up the next morning and it said Trunt as D&D Monsty, which we interpreted to mean Trump as a D&D monster. and he sort of created a with a couple of actually might just be one other person or some layout, like a brochure basically. And he sent it over to me because I was his like 5e nerd at the time.
Okay.
Just by his friend that knew about 5e, and he was like, "Hey, I'm making this for 5e. Can you look it over, just mechanically see what's going on there?" And I did, and it was, I don't know, like a match was lit, like, or like something sparked there.
Yeah.
And then we started working together as oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm okay. So that whole story is true.
Okay.
We started working together. We created Monsters of America. We sold Monsters of America, and now we didn't sell it, but we like, you can buy it. Plug, shameless plug.
Wait, is it on Drive-Thru RPG?
It is. It
Great.
is on Drive-Thru RPG.
We'll put a link in the show notes.
Great.
And back to the story that might possibly not be true. Go ahead.
That story is true. It is not technically the answer to the question you asked, and I am so sorry about that. But when I really first started writing TTRPGs is, I said when I started getting into TTRPGs, the first is free, and then I got into it. And after college, I went down and I worked for a year in Honduras at a nonprofit there as sort of a teacher's aide. Unfortunately, I didn't really speak the language. I like to say I majored in English and then promptly went to a primarily Spanish-speaking country. Really the smartest decision I've ever made. But for 8 months, I wasn't playing TTRPGs and I wasn't playing board games, and I was just sort of like going to what do you call it? Like going to work, coming home, coming home, trying to do something, and like, and it got to a point where the power was out one night, and it was raining, and there wasn't anything to do, and so I just picked up my little notebook that I had, and I started scrawling my own TTRPG.
Cool.
And that's when I started. I think that was the first design. So I apologize for telling you two super long stories for the price of one.
That's why we're here. People want to hear the stories. I thought that was great.
Excellent. Yeah.
So you've gone on. You've written now. Have you written anything on the scope of Cthulhu Dreamt?
No, I think that's probably the most ambitious project that we've. I mean, but it's so multimedia. It's so ambitious. I don't know that I've run into anything even that's on the scope of Cthulhu Dreamt. It's definitely maybe. I mean, I think if you think about expansiveness in terms of an XY graph, and this is going to be the most mathematical thing I've probably ever said in my entire life. But if you think of expansiveness in the terms of an XY graph, I think that a lot of things try and hit that Y-axis, right? So like think about Pathfinder, think about D&D 5e, really any of the D&Ds. Think about things like, what else has got really, it's in their TTRPGs and that has expansive worlds. Savage Worlds has a lot of them. They sort of go for that Y-axis in terms of like, this is how much content you can have for this TTRPG.
Sure.
And Cthulhu Dreamt sort of uniquely tries to go for the X and Y axis, right? Where we're like, and we nerded out about this a little bit before, and I apologize if this is redundant for you, but your listeners will listen, so that's what's important.
Yeah, not for me. Let's do it.
It's a metal album, and it's a comic book, and it's it's a vinyl you can get that has the cover is a DM screen for you, or a facilitator screen. And it's this super great multimedia, like super immersive thing that when you talk about scope, I think ends up being unique in that way, at least in its ambition. While and so it's sort of definitely targeting the x-axis more. I don't know if my graph actually helped anybody. I hope so. It helped him. It's what made sense in my mind.
It worked for you.
Great. Yeah. I'm going to teach a
no.
class on this later. There's going to be a quiz.
Oh, great. Good thing it's not in English. So actually, this is what we were talking about. And normally on this show, we don't get into like the tiers on a Kickstarter because it's really just about you. But you and I started nerding out about some of the tiers. I'm not going to go into what they are specifically, but there's a purple pressing of the vinyl, which you and I are both freaking out about. There's even a cassette level. You could get a cassette, which I would have thought, who wants that? But my nephew is going to go freaking crazy for this. He's collecting cassette tapes.
Oh, yo.
That's
Does
like
he have
a
a
big
cassette
thing.
Does he have a player, or is it just like a collection?
No, he has a player. And we went over with them. We were at their apartment, and he's like, yeah, I just found one of my favorite bands. You probably never heard of them. It's Jellyfish. And he pulled out a Jellyfish cassette tape. And I went, first of all, awesome, you have the cassette tape. Second of all, we saw Jellyfish before their first album came out. So we knew Jellyfish way back. And we were like, yeah, this is what they did on the concert. It was like a week before the album came out. It was super fun. And the cassette tape, looking at it, playing with it, I'm like, this is pretty cool. So I get that. I love the patches where you could get the Salien-Welf patch. So it's like you're part of the team. It's just, there's so much cool going on in this. And Reed, who is the musician behind the album, went nuts with these extensions where it's like, man, you want some goals, they're here. And I actually personally think that these stretch goals we're going to hit a lot of them, a lot more than you guys probably think, because I think awesome. And I think as people get into it, they're gonna be like, I got to tell my friends, I got to get people on this thing because I want that album. I want that artwork. I want that extra, I know that as we get further down, there's like whole other adventures that you can get. That's amazing. You guys have put in a hell of a lot of work on this thing. So what's your job on Cthulhu Dreamt?
My job is mechanic and systems consultant. So my job is to currently fine-tune the rules for the TTRPG. Adam Buffani, who is Crit Success, is phenomenal, very handsome, incredible game designer. And we're using a system he created, but we're sort of making it for specifically Cthulhu Dreamt. Okay. So the system was created in an attempt to be system agnostic, right? Setting agnostic, rather. And so part of my job is to, one, fine-tune them for the, the genre that we're in, this sort of like progressive death metal, near future horror. Part of my job is to make sure that everything is balanced and fun with each other. A lot of my job is editing. So, that means both dotting the I's, crossing the T's, making sure there's a comma where a comma needs to go. Putting in way more commas than are necessary, making you breathe so much during sentences that you're going to feel like you're hyperventilating.
There's the Oxford comma, and then there's the Ohio comma. And you have added the Ohio comma, yes.
Yeah, that's true. But then also to make sure that the language is approachable. Make sure that somebody who's new to the system, which will be the majority of people when we send it out, make sure that they can read it. And that we've got one of my favorite things about this system, and I'm not trying to just nerd out about the system, I know that, but is that it treats things as puzzles, not just especially monsters. Everything is a puzzle. Everything is a chess game. Everything is a way to think about it. And sometimes you can just smash something in the face, but it doesn't have to be. And if you don't have a sledgehammer at the time, or if the thing happens to be 8 million years older than you are and some sort of weird, elder being, you need to find another way to do it. And so part of my job is to make sure that we come up with and we implement effectively mechanics that reinforce those sorts of themes.
Sure.
As well as are good times for the players.
Yeah. All right, man. Yeah. Very cool. Well, we're almost out of time. So here's what we're going to do, Brad. First of all, I'm going to put any links in the show notes. You're going to be able to reach Brad. You're going to be able to check out Cthulhu Dreamt. I mean, it's all so cool. And you're able to follow what Brad's doing because you have worked on other stuff. I'll get a drive-through RPG link in there too, so people can check out your stuff. But Brad, what's the best place for people to reach you?
I'm on Discord at Storytripper. Also the action fiction Discord. Or I'm on Twitter at the Dread Pyrat. Pyrat is spelled like pie, the food, rat, the animal. The Dread Pyrat. All of them are the first letter is uppercase.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Once again, we'll put all those links in the show notes, so it's going to be easy for people. But some people are auditory learners. They hear us say it, and they go boop, right to it. So excellent. Well, I will get that out there for people, and I encourage everybody to support Cthulhu Dreamt and to follow Brad on his journey here. And if you've got good jokes about Ohio, send them his way.
Yes,
he will definitely appreciate it. In fact, Ohio memes are an especially sweet nectar for him. So, Brad, thank you for coming on. This was awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is amazing.
Brad, I can't thank you enough for this awesome interview. I had so much fun. I know we have a lot more we could talk about. I definitely want you on again in the future. If you or anyone you know has a crowdfunding effort about to launch or currently going, send them my way. I can feature their project on this show and on my other show, Go Fund This. I love to share cool TTRPG projects and to help people reach their goals. You can connect with me through the TTRPG Insider Facebook page or via email directly to rob@ttrpginsider.com. Please rate and review TTRPG Insider wherever you listen to this podcast. It really helps others find the show, which helps spread the word about our amazing guests and their incredible games. TTRPG Insider is a production of Southgate Media Group, hosted, edited, and produced by me, Rob Southgate. Thanks so much for listening to the TTRPG Insider.